Hello, this is Tia and welcome to another video. Today we're doing another video inside of Hermitcraft season Clockwork. We are in chapter 6. And yeah, we will be reading this chapter and we'll see if we can move on to chapter 7. We're starting to get somewhere. That's nice. Just so you know, things could get a little bit dark. This is another story where things could get dark if you look at it too deep. But if you just look at a base value, it should be fine. Should be fine, but the possibility is gonna get dark. I don't go dark, but yeah, just so you know, like not yet. It happens in this chapter, so I might as well warn you that if you don't know if you can handle it, though I think you can handle it, that's fine. Like I think this is something most people can handle, but don't think you can handle it, well, you might have to skip out on this episode. But that's up to you. Anyway, let's get to it. Impulse sat quietly in his cell, carefully counting the brick walls to himself. A part of him wanted to hear one of his friends again, but he knew doing it too often would risk someone finding out what he was doing. He couldn't let Mr. A's men know what he was up to. He couldn't let RJ know what he was doing when no one was watching him. He wanted a chance, even if it felt like the men weren't giving him a choice. It was still a possibility that could help him get out of here before something horrible happened. He doubted it would be that simple. He managed to count 345 bricks before his attention was diverted when he heard footsteps in the hallway. Several pairs, actually. Was somebody coming to see him? It seemed to him that RJ was coming to see him. Was someone coming to get him? Or blah, blah. He couldn't be sure if the man was amongst the group, but he didn't like how the footsteps were getting louder until they stopped right in front of the cell door. Impulse stood as he heard the lock click, hesitant on whether or not he would be a bad time to try and break for it. He doubted with three soldiers walking in with RJ that it would happen. He looked exactly as Jem had described to him not too long ago. Tall and lean, his eyes looking directly at him with judgment as a cold smile formed on his face. "It's nice to see you here to greet us," the man, RJ said rather cheerfully. It almost had a creepy edge to it, though, as the YouTuber swallowed. "How was your first couple of nights here?" A time frame. The YouTuber paused for a second before shrugging simply. "What can I expect, really? It's not necessarily welcoming." "Oh, I'm sure you'll feel quite at home soon enough," the man mused as he nodded over at the soldiers. The three of them headed towards him slowly as Impulse took a step sideways, unsure if it was worth it to run. "Unfortunately, before we start the session, I'll need you to hold still for a little bit." "What are you planning to do?" Holt asked nervously as he tried to dodge an attempt to grab him before he was snatched by another hand and dragged to the cot. Forcefully sat down. He struggled as another soldier held his head still. The third one took something out of his pocket. "Experimented. Luckily for you, you're my first test subject." The man chuckled. Of this version anyway. You're probably the third overall." "What happened to the other two?" Impulse questioned. His eyebrows lifted as a smile wanted. "Driven into madness." He laughed at the YouTuber's expression of horror. "I'm only playing. The other two subjects didn't fare much better than you probably will. I've yet to see them actually go mad with it. Maybe you'll be the first." Impulse swallowed as he watched the third man pull out some sort of headband machine thing as he unclasped it, putting it around his head as the cold metal touched his forehead. He wanted so badly to pull away, but the men holding him still weren't about to let him go anytime soon. Once he heard the clasp click, the third soldier nodded as he stepped back as the YouTuber was released from the very uncomfortable and temporary imprisonment. What exactly does it do? Let's see. Jay said smugly as one of the soldiers pulled out something. It appeared to be some sort of mind control panel. The man pressed the button and had been suddenly hummed to life, vibrating softly against his head. Comfortable fit? Bit tight, the YouTuber admitted. It'll grow on you. RJ chuckled as he composed himself. Now, are you ready? For what? Both demanded. The humming was made mildly distracting as he tried to focus. Tried to figure out what was going on as he stared at the men. I have a few questions I want to ask you, and I want the honest answer, the man replied as Impulse saw the guard press another button as Impulse felt a rush of energy surge into the machine, doing his best not to react. Something about this felt wrong. Very, very wrong. He couldn't figure out how, though. Just a feeling of ominous dread. After the YouTuber didn't respond, the man continued. I'm sure you've noticed some current events as of late? Impulse nodded. Maybe I haven't, maybe I haven't. I'm sure you've heard of them from your little friends. Summer smiled before it faded. It appears I've been lied to, and I want to bring about a little bit of chaos. Drive a little fear into one of your friends. After all, I have leverage that might get their attention. What do you want to know? Impulse asked, unease filling him as he could have sworn he heard a voice whisper in his mind. It sounded familiar, but he couldn't quite catch it. I want to send one of your friends a message. RJ narrowed his eyes. Do you know where they are? Graham? Impulse questioned, fidgeting nervously as he looked away from the man. For some reason, his eyes wouldn't meet back with his. Where could one of my men find him to send a message? The man asked, nodding his head at the YouTuber's question. The YouTuber swallowed, hesitating as he tried to think of something to say. He couldn't tell the man where Green was. He knew that was what the man wanted. Why did he want to send a message, though? A threat? A warning? An image slowly appeared into his mind as a memory rose from his mind, seeing his friends lying on the grassy ground after being rescued from the machine they'd later demolished. He'd looked so weak and frail, he couldn't let that happen again. Tuber blinked. His image faded from his mind as he stared straight at the man, opening his mouth in an attempt to say that he wouldn't tell him anything. Instead, what came out of his mouth horrified him as he told the man exactly where and how to find him, as he covered his mouth with sand and horror. Goop. You want to know why he's not taking it off? It's because, well, before they've had some sort of backup thing that if you tried to do anything with the machine and while it was still active, it would shock you. I never mentioned it here, but yeah, that would explain why. Going back to the story. The man's smile returned as he stared at the YouTuber's terrified face. Looks like it worked well, right, soldier? Yes, sir, one of the men said with a chuckle. Impulse lowered his hand as he felt tears stinging his eyes as he pushed them back. He looked down at his feet, trying to think about what he'd just done. Was this some sort of machine, some sort of mind control mechanism? What exactly could it do to him? He closed his eyes as he took a deep breath, unsure what to make of this. What could this thing make him say? I suggest you look at me when I'm talking to you, YouTuber. RJ said coldly as Impulse opened his eyes, slowly raised his head. He will fight back the urge to be defiant. I know you probably feel guilty for betraying your friend like that, but in a way, it's a little bit of payback. What do you mean? Impulse whispered. Just not enough for the man to hear. You see, your little friend was the one who led these men right to you, the man said with opening his arms wide as if in an embrace. He brought us straight to a bunch of YouTubers we never knew existed. He didn't know, though, Impulse existed. As another memory filled his mind, an explosion shook within as he looked up to see the shadow of a helicopter above him. He could hear shouts and screams as he remembered running, confusion and fear as the image faded. The world around him seemed to crumble. He still did it, though, the man replied firmly. I'm sure he'd do it again if the time came. He'd never do that, Impulse stated defiantly. I You're absolutely sure? RJ asked curiously. Even if it meant to save someone else, your kind definitely has an issue of trusting people too much. We're friends, Impulse said quietly. Friends don't do that kind of thing. Perhaps you're right, the man said with a sneer. That's why I want to test such loyalty. See what he says to do. And you'll know who your friends really are. You'll regret it, Impulse said simply, as he noticed the soldier pressed another button as he heard screams in the back of his mind. Familiar screams. What are you doing to me? RJ shrugged and smiled. I can do whatever I like with you. I can make you say what I need you to say. I can make you do what I want you to do. What do you want from me? Impulse insisted. Nothing, the man replied. Once I don't need you anymore, you'll be nothing more than to me. So you'll kill me, Impulse said nervously. I'll do something. I just want to make sure I'll do it right. I do it right, the man said, his eyes gleaming as he smiled. I'll see you soon. Hopefully your friends have the heart to care enough to do what I say. Otherwise you'll never see any of them again. Impulse said nothing as the man turned and walked out of the room, followed by the guards as the dreams in his mind faded. He looked down at his sweaty hands, not noticing them shake as he slowly put them to his face and let out a long, disappointing groan. What was he meant to do now? Chapter 7. Impulse stood up as he spent an unknown amount of time with his own thoughts, the humming of the machine still filling his mind as he tried to figure out what he was meant to do. He couldn't focus with all the noise that went through everything that had happened in his mind. As his mind went through everything that had happened in his mind, he accidentally and unwillingly given the man what he wanted to know. The man had threatened him and accused Green of things he knew the YouTuber had no fault in. Green had been careful and tried to do his best to keep them safe, but even he wasn't perfect. He didn't expect that of him anyway. Still, the thought that he had no control over his words scared him. Of course, the man claimed he could make him say whatever he wanted. How true would that be, though? How far could he go to try to ruin everything? To destroy his friendships? To even end him? He didn't know. He didn't want to know. He took a shallow breath as he reached down to his hip pocket, his hands shaking as he pulled out the portable communicator, as he looked down at it before fiddling with it until it was satisfied, sending a signal. Hello? Pearl's voice came through almost instantly. He had to assume she must have picked up a spare portable communicator of her own, or had been waiting for him to call. Hey, Pearl, he said quietly. It was nice to hear a friendly face again. Are you okay? She asked firmly. It's complicated, he sighed. Where's Green? He's downstairs in a moment. I can get him for you, she said quickly. Is that all right? Yeah. And he nodded as he heard her put the device down, as the door opened and closed, as he heard her footsteps disappear. He sat there for a moment in silence before he heard what sounded like covers being pulled back. Hey, Impulse. Scar's voice rang through the device as the YouTuber managed a relieved smile. How long have you been up, Scar? Impulse asked, glancing over at the cell door for a moment. Not too long, Scar said sheepishly as his voice grew louder. I needed an excuse to get out of that bed. Pearl wanted to make sure I was okay before letting me out. You sound fine to me, Impulse pointed out. Better than fine, Impulse, Scar said confidently. What about you? Do you even know where you are? I don't know, Impulse admitted. I might have been forced to do something I didn't want to do, and I feel a bit guilty about it. Is that why you want to talk to Green? Scar asked with a soft whisper. I need to give him a warning, at least to make up somehow. Impulse said as he heard the door open. Looking back towards the cell door, no one was there. Stray's men hadn't figured him out just yet. What do you want to make up? Green's voice came through the device as he heard Scar scrambling away from the machine. It's a long story, Impulse sighed. Would you prefer to talk about it in private? Pearl offered. No, it's fine, Impulse managed with a small smile. It's just good to hear from you guys again. I miss you. We'll get you out, Scar said with determination. Impulse nodded, waiting for a moment before he told them everything. His encounter with RJ, what he'd done, and what the men had threatened to do. the man had threatened to do. He took his time, doing everything he could not to leave anything out. Once he was done, there was a long moment's silence. How long do you think you have? Pearl asked him gently. I don't know, Impulse admitted. Not a month, though, probably. Well, and we figure that out when we get to that warning, Green said matter-of-factly. Don't worry, we'll be careful. Impulse managed to smile again. I know you will. I want to know, though, the YouTuber added. You don't believe what RJ told you, do you? Well, of course not, Impulse said matter-of-factly. Good. Green replied. Don't let him get to you. Even with those visions, he's trying to get under your skin and on purpose. You got this. How? Impulse asked. You can make me say absolutely anything. You can make me see anything. How do I get around that? Well, you can't make you say anything if you choose not to talk, Scar pointed out. So many other things? I mean, you could try thinking about something positive to try to overcome the negative, Pearl suggested after Scar trailed off. If you practice before and after your sessions with strong memories, then maybe you can gain back some of the control in your mind. I mean, I could try that, Impulse admitted. Thanks, Pearl. All of you. No problem, Green replied, just as they heard a knock on the door behind them as a moment's silence passed before the connection was cut. Impulse frowned, unsure of what the others had seen. He had a feeling it couldn't be good. Had the man RJ promised found them? What was going on? Had they arrived? Had the arrival hurt him? So, what would that man do? He pocketed back the portable communicator, deciding it was better to be safe than sorry. He took a deep breath as he tried to push it away. Hopefully, the man hadn't hurt him and didn't know what he was doing. Otherwise, his only way of getting in touch with his friends would be in jeopardy. I think I'm gonna leave it here, guys. Sorry. I'm just thinking, like, should I continue or should I just leave it at that? But I feel like I should just leave it like that. Yeah, that's a good spot to end. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to leave any of your thoughts, theories, questions in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them or respond to them if you just, like, yeah. There are some things, like, yeah. Usually when, I talk about machines, like, you can't easily just take them off. There's always some sort of mechanism in there that, like, these guys know it. You should already have known it if you watched other stuff. Like, you can't just take it off. It will shock you if it's still active. If you try to take it off. It will shock you. And it will hurt. Yeah, like if it's disabled, or the control panel is destroyed, then yeah, you can take it off with ease. But yeah. Like it's happened before with other things, so that's not that big of a deal. I'm not sure if I want to go down this route, but this route is very interesting. Like, yeah, this mind control route. Definitely interesting, especially with other things that have happened in other parts of the world that may or may not be happening in the future in this world. I mean, these worlds. Only time will tell. Time will tell. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yes, I will be seeing you all in the next one, whenever that might be.